So we're sitting in an exhibition which is based around current research at MIT. That's the first thing to say. Actually, it's based around 7 discrete current research projects right the way across the Institute, from in fact all 5 of the main schools of the Institute. And each exhibit has been put together in close collaboration between museum staff and the research faculty and students who are involved in these projects. And the aim of the exhibition as a whole is to illustrate for our visitors the kinds of research and innovation that MIT really is all about.
Hi, I'm Laura Knott. I am the exhibitions coordinator at the MIT Museum and worked on this exhibit, Sampling MIT. I came to the MIT Museum several years ago after many years as an artist and teacher. My first training as an artist was in choreography, and then I had a studio practice in visual art and did graduate work here in visual studies at MIT. So I have a perspective that's pretty broad, and some of it I think shows up in the way that I worked on this exhibit. So the very first place I ever made a dance in was a narrow space that was very, very deep. And when I started looking at this space for Sampling MIT, it reminded me of the first studio I ever choreographed in. What I loved about working in that space was that I could have lots of action going on in the background and the midground and the foreground and kind of switch people's visual interests back and forth. So that's one thing that I tried to do in laying out this space, so that there's always something drawing you further and further into this space. There are lots of different elements in this exhibition, and one of them has to do with a white paper that was written about space policy. And this is one of the kind of iconic artifacts of the space part of this exhibit. This spacesuit was developed by David Newman from the Aero Astro department. It was developed for extravehicular activity. The idea being that instead of a bulky spacesuit like we're kind of used to seeing that carries around an atmosphere inside it, this is a counter pressure suit. It's made to be absolutely skin tight, so that it protects the body of the explorer while outside a vehicle. It's really important for us to try to make the visitor feel comfortable in understanding science and engineering that's just coming out of the labs at MIT. There are lots of different ways to do that, and one of the ways that we tried to do it was by injecting a little bit of humor here and there. When we were working on this exhibit, we thought it would be really important to the researchers and also to the museum to give our visitors an opportunity to volunteer when they have just read about the research that's going on there. They're all excited about it and they want to become research subjects. We wanted to make that possible right here in the museum. So we started thinking about how to do that. I think the typical way would be to have a screen where people could enter their information, but I really wanted to do something that took visitors out of their normal life, gave them a moment to kind of enter this realm of becoming research subjects in a way that wasn't like what they would normally do. And so we came up with this now obsolete object, a red telephone that has no buttons, and when you pick it up, you're talking to the imaging center.
We think there's a distinctive role for this museum in getting closer to the research process itself by actually capturing material about research while it's still going on. For example, in the exhibit that we're sitting in now, we have something coming from MIT's Energy Initiative, which is about the work of Professor Dan Nocera, who, among other things, is developing new ways of trying to save or store, I should say, store energy by actually splitting water. Dan has developed some very interesting new techniques for doing this, including new catalysts, which make the reaction involved in splitting water go more easily. And hopefully, they will help achieve much more effective solar energy storage in the next generation. So we have an exhibit which is all about that. Whether that will really be the stuff of the next generation solar energy systems, only time will tell. But we want to get our visitors involved in the conversation about important research like that.